Is it now time to bring back the death penalty? That is the question that everyone is asking after we have found out that this brutal murderer, Axel Rudakubana, who killed 3 beautiful young girls last year, has now attacked a prison officer by hurling boiling water over them. The violence clearly never stops with this boy. He's not been rehabilitated at all. I'm sure he feels like he's got nothing to lose, given he's got a 52-year sentence, and thinks he'll act up and do whatever he wants in that prison. Okay? This prison officer could have been, extremely badly harmed. Luckily has come off okay and not too badly injured, but we could find out if he continues as he does. We could find out one day that he has killed a prison guard and that another life has been lost because of his behaviour. I'm not sure that the prison guards should have to put up with this dangerous man. Should we be keeping them alive? I'm not sure the answer, but I have to say I've got a lot of questions to ask after reading this absolutely horrifying story. So the Sun has put their headline as "Horror Attack Southport Fiend. Axel Rudakubana hurled boiling water over prison guard in terrifying attack, putting victim in hospital." So this is at HMP Belmarsh, where he is being held. Now this is the same prison where the terrorist Hasham Abedi is kept. That is the Manchester Arena bomb plotter, and that guy stabbed and burned guards last month, and now the prison guards there are now putting up with this. Axel Rudakubana pouring boiling water over prison guards. This is absolutely shocking stuff, guys, and this was no last minute burst of anger. This was planned, okay? Because you don't have boiling water just hanging around the place in a prison, okay? I know at home you've got your kettles out and whatnot, and you could pick it up and pour it over your spouse if you get angry at them one day. I'm not advocating you do that, but I'm just saying, it's a bit different in prison to your own home, okay? It is very, very clear that this is something that Axel Rudakubana, the crafty little bugger, planned in advance to cause harm intentionally to a prison officer. This is absolutely disgusting behaviour. There is now an investigation underway to find out how on earth this happened and how he managed to do it. We are finding out that the guard was screaming as the water was thrown on them. I don't know whether the prison officer was a man or a woman, and luckily quick action was taken and the screams were heard. Cold water was immediately poured over the poor prison officer who was burned, which meant that luckily they've been able to be discharged from hospital on the same day. The prison officer, of course, had to go to hospital after having boiling water poured all over themselves, but luckily, because quick action was taken and cold water was poured over them, they have got off quite lucky and been able to leave on the same day of going to hospital without too bad injuries. But it could have been a lot worse, okay? I have a permanent scar on my leg from where I accidentally poured boiling water on myself once. But can you imagine if I had poured that over my head, what I would look like today? Okay, wouldn't be looking quite so pretty, I can assure you that. I really hope that this officer hasn't got, a horrible scalded face that is going to be messed up for life, and I hope their vision is okay and their eyes are okay. It is pretty a scary thing to happen to you. A source said this is a terrifying and shocking in equal measure, and questions will be raised about this attack, especially coming so soon after the one by Abedi. Yeah, that's what's quite strange about this, is you would have thought the prison would have been on such high alert and had really upped their measures to stop inmates getting hold of anything they could possibly use to harm anybody. But clearly it's not worked, because Axel Rudakubana has managed to figure out how to get hold of some boiling water to scald a prison officer. It's just absolutely Absolutely shocking that this has happened. And yeah, we got to ask the question: should Axel Rudakubana, should we still be keeping him alive? You also got to bear in mind the expense of it, where the taxpayer is going to be paying for the rest of his life, pretty much, to house and feed him there, and for the prison officers to take care of him. Does he deserve that? Should he be alive, given that he's putting these prison officers in danger? Should Abedi, the terrorist who stabbed officers just last month, should he still be alive? Again, those prison officers, they are lucky to be alive. It could have been a very different, much more horrifying story. I think the country will absolutely lose their minds if there is sadly one day a story that Axel Rudakubana has killed a prison officer. Okay, I don't want there to be a story like that, but I'm just saying it could happen. This guy is clearly a very crafty kid who, knows how to figure out how to plan things to get his resources where he needs them to cause harm to people. The guy is absolutely deranged and crazy, and I don't know if someone who is that mentally deranged can ever be fully rehabilitated. I don't know. The source also said, this is speaking to The Sun, it seems miraculous he was not more badly hurt, and luckily the water was not mixed with sugar. So there were rumours that Axel Rudakubana had mixed the boiling water with sugar because that makes the burning and the scarring even worse. But apparently that was not the case in the end, which was very lucky. Other officers heard him screaming and the commotion. One of the first things they did was put cold water on him, thank God for that. They also restrained Rudakubana and made sure he couldn't do anything worse to the guard. Thank God they acted quickly. I don't know what else Axel Rudakubana would have had up his sleeve if he was allowed to carry on doing what he was doing for any longer. His regime will now be incredibly strict, and he will barely come into contact with anyone and will be fed through a hatch. Thank God for that. At least he will face some of the consequences of behaving like this. He should have to just be fed through a hatch and barely come into contact with anyone. Other people shouldn't be put at risk. I'm sorry. You face the consequences. If you're going to treat people like that, you face the consequences. And lastly, the source says he's clearly not rehabilitated at all, and someone like him has nothing to lose. Exactly what I said. He's there for life, pretty much. So he's not thinking, I better be goody two-shoes so I can be let out of here soon. Soon, it's not in sight. He's 18 years old and he's got a long life in prison ahead of him. So he thinks he can get away with this stuff. But oh no, you can be locked away more, and you can be fed through a hatch, and you can lose your contact and your limited freedoms that you have in prison. And, let's just remind ourselves, guys. These 3 beautiful little girls, they lost their lives because of this monster, Axel Rudakubana. You tell me in the comments, do you think he deserves to be alive? Do you think that he should receive the death penalty? I don't know exactly what the answer is. Initially, when this question was raised with regards to Axel Rudakubana, I've said, on principle, I do not think that we should have the death penalty. But now I'm seeing stories where I'm like, he could genuinely kill a prison officer if he puts his mind to it, potentially. This is a dangerous, dangerous man, whether he's in or outside of prison. Should he be alive today? I don't know. You tell me in the comments what you think. I'm Chloe Dobbs. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to Reason if you've not already.